Welcome to the committee's first ever fantasy football PPR 12 team mock draft 2023 ESPN. We're not sponsored, but we
Nope.
are together. Ryan Mackey, welcome in. How are you?
Doing great, Chris. Well, aka the Guru. I don't think I've ever been more excited for a fantasy football season, let alone an NFL regular season, just because of all the developing stories going on. But just to do this show and have this opportunity with you, somebody that I've been playing fantasy football with since 2007, it's an awesome moment. It's coming full circle, and I'm really to share. I'm excited to share what we know with all our fantasy friends out there.
Me too. Yeah, and if anybody's listening right now, watching, I posted the link to you could join the mock draft with us. Actually, no, you can't because it's filled up.
Oh no!
But I am excited too as well. I think you and I are doing this because we want to show everybody like the ins and outs and the secrets that we learn and that
Yes.
we are learning because we're still early in the season and most people aren't even thinking about fantasy football right now. Most people are just.
Well, I do have some great news. This is the last month that we'll have to deal with no football. So that's always exciting for everybody because preseason kicks off in August, and then we have training camp starting in a couple weeks for most teams. Rookie camp will be happening very, very soon with pads. So I know that's really exciting for everybody out there because the best thing about whether you're an NFL fan or a fantasy fan, we all start at 0-0.
Yeah, that's the best part because like last year, even like in the middle of the season or even at the end, you're just like either discouraged or you're getting ready for the playoffs. And a lot of people, it's only a certain percentage that make it to the playoffs. Most people are discouraged. Some people tank. Some people don't care anymore. Some people delete their app. Sometimes I delete it. Sometimes I delete it. Yeah, I get angry.
And what better way to get started on 4th of July weekend, which I hope everybody has a great one. I hope you all stay safe out there. I did want to show you one of my cool Father's Day presents that I was able to get. I just wanted to show everybody that how ready I am for football. I know Father's Day isn't really celebrated that much out there. I think I read something where it's the 8th most celebrated holiday in the United States, which is kind of sad because I think Mother's Day came in at number 2, and not taking away from any of the mothers out there, but I wanted to show you my pretty cool Father's Day present. Excuse my messy hair.
It looks nice. What in the?
Do you love the committee logo? I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is our committee logo right here. And my wife actually handmade this life-sized football helmet, which I thought was really, really cool. And I just wanted to show it off to you all because I'm proud of this gift. It's the best Father's Day gift that I could have ever received. I love my kids. I have two sons, and my wife and I just got married in November. So life has been great. But I thought this is one of the coolest gifts that like anybody can have. Like we're starting this show. I just thought it would be a cool way to break in a little committee love, especially for you, Guru.
Look like the old school like football leather helmets. It looks really good and that's made out of paper, right? Or
it is. It's made out of cardboard.
Cardboard. How crazy is that? Yeah, they did a good job. Shout out to your family.
Thanks, man. So we're almost 1 minute away from starting our first ever live mock draft with the fantasy football community, with the people that are looking to win their first championship, because that's what this channel was made for. For the people that haven't really got over the hump, we're here to give you those little tips, those tricks, and everything that we could do to help you set up for success in the regular season, the playoffs, the draft. We're here for it, and I hope you are too.
And that's what makes me excited. Like, and you and I, and we're just starting off. Whether we have like one follower or one subscriber or people in chat, it's the whole point of it is to find that one person. Even if we just help one person win their championship or get an edge or win their draft or win their season. However it works, we'll be doing this mock draft leading up to until everybody's fantasy drafts actually occur. So then they'll be prepared. They'll be better than Joe Schmo, who maybe try to go through the handbook last minute, a day of draft. We don't want you to do that. We want you to be prepared. We want you to win the draft, because if you don't, the season's just more challenging. And here we are. We're about to start.
why do it by yourself when you can win by committee? Let's go.
Always. We're gonna enter the draft in right now. Win by committee. Ooh, it's so clean.
Entering the lobby. Entering the lobby. This is so exciting. This is so exciting. So our draft is starting in 1 minute. I see that you wanted to go cute and get an early pick at pick 2. I'm actually at 8. I wanted to draft towards the back of the draft so we can kind of show people if you have the 2nd or 8th pick, this is the best scenario coming down. But was there any strategy into picking 2 for our first mock, Chris?
There was no strategy. It was more of like I think especially what everybody's going to be at now in July, August is like getting a feel for what could be possible, like get a feel for the draft, get a feel for like what it looks like in the 3rd round, 4th round. That's what we talk about. Like that's what we do when you and I draft. It's like we want to see what's available, what value players are available, because maybe some people are reaching on a certain player, maybe some people are letting people slip. And Ryan and I, we like to take advantage of those opportunities.
Well, I'll let it be known that I've won my leagues with pick 1, and I've also won them at pick 11, 12, towards the front end or the back end of the draft. You could win your fantasy football championship drafting anywhere. Don't be discouraged by your pick when you receive it. That's why we're here. We're here to help you. And with that said, sounds like somebody is on the clock.
Who just went? Did you see who picked up?
Yeah, so JJ, Justin Jefferson went. Mr. Jettas, the Sultan of Slot is the first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Is that is it a clear consensus that that he should be the number 1 pick taken? Like, let's say somebody wants to go running back early.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
If somebody wants to go running back early, is that what you said?
Well, I mean, do you think that he's the clear-cut number 1 pick and should be the number 1 pick in this draft?
I don't see there's any argument that you could, especially in a PPR league. Like, it's just an easy yes for him. I went with Christian McCaffrey because he is he's literally the Justin Jefferson of the running back core, because he's going to get catches. We don't know how San Francisco is going to end up doing, and if they are trailing in a lot of their games, who's going to be on the field. Christian McCaffrey never leaves, and I think as in PPR, he's basically a receiver. You know what I mean?
Good point. Well, it looks like I am on. I'm actually next. I'm picking at 8. So team 1. There's a couple auto picks in here. Hopefully, we're gonna have these lobbies filled. But at 8, I'm looking at Bijan Robinson. I'm hoping that he doesn't go to this pick 7, but it also looks like this. Who went? Of course, he went Bijan Robinson. So right now,
Cooper Kupp, Bijan Robinson. Yeah.
So right now, I'm stuck between Tyreek Hill. I have Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley on the board, Derrick Henry. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I think that Tyreek Hill is the best. He's the best player available at this spot.
Wow, yeah.
I know that he could be facing a possible suspension. I still have to go with the skill level and the talent. This is a guy that had a career high in receptions and yards. Considering all those great years that he had with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, he had a career high in receptions and yards for the Dolphins this year or last year. So just imagine, Guru, if Tua Tagovailoa can play somewhere between 14 or more games, you would have to expect that Tyreek could be breaking some records this year.
Absolutely. I don't see why he's not a top 3 for sure. And if you do pick him at 8, there's nothing wrong with that. I think Tyreek, because of, and you and I talked about this, because Tua went down and they had basically a 3rd string quarterback or rookie quarterback, or no, second year quarterback.
Yeah. So I'm back on the clock, and I picked Tyreek Hill first. Now, I'm having a little bit of trouble on if I want to decide if I want to go running back here.
Yeah.
But there's better players than drafting a Tony Pollard or a Breece Hall on the board. So I'm actually going to go with A.J. Brown.
Of course.
I think that A.J. Brown gives you the stability. If you have a double wide receiver set with him and Tyreek Hill, you're looking at somewhere between 1,500 or more yards And I expect both of them to score at least over 10 touchdowns each. And it's funny because I picked Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown, and Chris, you and I are both Dolphins and Eagles fans.
Look, if you ever wake up on a Sunday and you're like, oh, and you don't remember who's on your team, and you look down and see Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown, there's not a moment where you're just not excited. I'm up in a couple seconds.
Ooh, exciting.
So I have Christian McCaffrey, and like,
and you're on the clock.
And I'm on the clock. So I have a running back. I would like a really, really, really good stud receiver right now. ESPN rankings are weird.
They are really weird.
They're awkwardly weird. I'm going to do something I don't usually do. This is our first draft. I'm taking Hurts here because on the back.
You're taking Hurts.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to do a cute little stack with AJ Brown.
Oh,
so yeah. I was gonna go no running back for my first 3 picks, but now that you got Hurts, that kind of messed up my whole plan. But that's okay. You're back on the clock, sir.
I'll be okay. So rule Ryan and I have is like we don't draft quarterbacks, but I think if you're gonna do some like weird stack, some weird situation, I think you go with Devontae Smith, and at least I have some kind of. I think Devontae Smith's upside this year. He had over 1,000 yards last year, and he's really underrated. Because AJ Brown's on the team, people think that he's not going to get the ball enough, but I think the Eagles are going to have a insanely good, easy offensive year.
It's amazing how the Dolphins and Eagles have 2 number 1 wide receivers.
Yeah,
it's not easy to find that in the league, and both of them played on the same team, the same offense. Talking about Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, and you're seeing.
Oh, Ryan back here.
I'm on the clock. So obviously, I went Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown. I love how my wide receivers are looking. I have to go running back at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm stuck kind of between Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, and Aaron Jones. I don't love Ramondre Stevenson's schedule this year, but I think that he offers the most upside. Just because Aaron Jones has to split carries, I'm not 100% sold on Najee Harris. I know many people are predicting him to break out this year because the offense surrounding Kenny Pickett is better in Pittsburgh. But Najee Harris has to prove to me that this is going to be a one and done season, because if he tends to struggle and running backs could be facing injuries over the years, just like he has. I know he's young. I know he's pretty much fresh legs, but I like Ramondre Stevenson because I know that he has a pretty high floor. I don't see any really running backs challenging him in New England right now because they let Damian Harris go to Buffalo. So I think it's the safest pick out of all 3. And I love Aaron Jones, but the fact that he shares all those carries with AJ Dillon, doesn't get the maximum red zone looks that he would normally get in past seasons, I had to go Ramondre Stevenson right there.
Yeah, I like it. I think with all the reasons why, let me lower this for everybody. All the reasons why you said in terms of Damian not being there, and he's just going to get the whole tote. And let's see who just went. Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews just back to back.
That's a cute little a cute little stack.
I'm trying to keep up with the picks and seeing Dameon Pierce just went.
So again, like I'm completely confident in my wide receivers with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a little bit of a reach here, and I'm drafting Alexander Mattison.
Interesting.
I think it gives me stability because I think that Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, they could really break it open for my offense. So you in that sense, you need running backs that could score at least 10 points or more. There's no challenging Madison or Stevenson at in this point. And I know normally Madison goes around that 5th or 6th round area, but since I have a late pick, I know he's never going to come back to me in the 5th or 6th round. So I decided to reach for Alexander Mattison because I like the Vikings. I like a lot of running backs in the NFC North this year because they have the weakest schedule for running backs in the entire NFL. And with Dalvin Cook gone, This is Alexander Madison's backfield. You know, the Vikings, as terrible as Kirk Cousins is, they're going to have a offense. So we'll see. And that brings you back to the Guru with pick 47.
Worst case scenario, Chris Olave went, Miles Sanders just went. So I'm stuck here in a really awkward situation. Nothing safe here at all. Nothing even good here at all. I'm going to take a risk here with Hopkins. Yeah.
You got DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, it's a big risk, but I think he's a stud still, and I hope he lands on a good team. But I didn't want to take a risk with Watson, Johnson. Oh my god, no! I love him.
Where do you think he ends up? Could you imagine if he signed with like a Kansas City? That would automatically make him a top 15-20 pick.
That's the upside with DeAndre is either he's on a team that he's just gonna streamline. He's gonna have a top 5 quarterback, or the opposite side is that he's just gonna be on a team where he's just getting paid and the quarterback sucks. So it's a big risk, I think.
Yep.
But great upside. He could live. Last year, I remember when he came back after the suspension, he was just automatic. So I don't have an RB2. And there isn't a lot going on here in life with RB2s. Tight ends. I mean, I'm a big fan of Waller this year, but I don't want to reach on a tight end. I have 10 seconds. You know, a player that I really love, and it'll be a really nasty flex, is Calvin Ridley. I'm going all receivers here since I'll have the number one quarterback. I think top 3 running back. I'm just going on receivers that are really skinny and can catch the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about risk here.
Yeah, this is a huge risk. Mm-hmm. All upside.
I like the fact that you drafted DeAndre Hopkins. I was a little bit. I thought you were going to go Kenneth Walker right there, just because of his upside. I know they, I
think he was gone. Kenneth was gone when I was.
I didn't even see him off the board.
They keep taking perfect picks. So.
Yep. Wow. So I'm 20 seconds away. I like my lineup so far. I have Ramondre Stevenson and Alexander Madison, a running back, Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown. So really, I'm looking for like some kind of flex position with a higher ceiling. And to be quite honest, I think the best player available, because right now you got DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy. I like Jeudy this year, but I think the most upside for me to have would be to get Dalvin Cook.
Seriously?
Wow. I do.
Where was he ranked? I'm curious.
He was literally ranked as the 90th player.
Wow.
Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook were sitting at 90 and 91. Yeah.
I saw
the 90 and 91 first ranked player. And to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I know Dalvin Cook is going to sign somewhere soon. I know that when he gets on the field, he's probably going to sign somewhere in the AFC East. And I think both of those situations, whether he goes to Buffalo or whether he goes to Miami, which is highly projected because he is a Miami guy, played for FSU in college. I think he easily becomes the starting running back. And why wouldn't you? Dalvin Cook, I've never seen him play a full season before until last year, but I like his explosiveness. I like the fact that he could, break tackles at will. And I thought that he was the best player available. And now it gives me stability. I have 2 stud wide receivers, and I have Ramondre Stevenson, Alexander Madison, and Dalvin Cook in my flex.
That's clean. What I'm seeing here is what round are we in? 6th round, 5th, 6th round. If anybody's watching in the future, but in this round, there's a little area here where it's just like nobody really wants, and this happens, I think, every year. Nobody wants the Mike Evans, the Terry McLaurin. No. Do you know what I mean? Like they fall usually in this little area, so it's like they'll skip those players and they'll maybe go to reach for like you said, Dalvin, or if D Hop was here, or something to that extent.
So I'm on the clock right now, and I'm taking who I think is the best player available. Trevor Lawrence.
I love that's a good pick. Yeah,
I
love it.
I would like to. I feel a lot of people should try to get that stack, that Trevor Lawrence Calvin Ridley stack. But since you took both stacks away from me with Calvin
Yes.
Ridley and
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, I
Uh-huh.
feel like Trevor Lawrence at that point was the best player available. I didn't want to wait till the lower tier quarterbacks where you're looking at Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins. Might as
Sure.
well get somebody that's going to probably finish somewhere in the top 8
He's right there.
in passing yards.
He's right there on the outskirts of, like, you know, quote unquote elite. I think he's still like top 7, top 8.
Yeah.
It's so cute what's about to happen because I have DeAndre Swift and Dallas Goedert. And
Ooh, I like
I literally don't want to have an all Eagles team, but I mean, I think Swift, I don't know why, like, I don't see how he doesn't start, and the Eagles are gonna it's like if you have more Eagles players, the chances of you having go up too as well. It's really between I want to go Swift, but I know the Eagles.
Are you worried about
overstack?
Not really the overstack, but the running back by committee thing that Philly tends to do.
I am, but the thing is, DeAndre. Oh, dang, he took Goddard.
Because I know Rashad Penny hasn't proven that he could play a full NFL season yet.
Yeah.
But let's just say he does under the Eagles' offensive line. I think that's going to cut into DeAndre Swift's role a lot. But I could see Swift is one of those players that the Eagles traded literally a 4th-round pick for him. It was such a beautiful trade.
Yeah, I just put Alvin Kamara too for my 7th-round pick.
Like, remember, Swift was going in the 1st round of drafts last year, and now you can get him in round 7.
Yeah. I think if you're going to go with Swift, or you do something crazy like what I'm doing, like stacking with players that are just high upside, but they might just be average.
Yes.
They might not pan out, like Alvin Kamara or Swift. I can still switch between Swift and Kamara, and those two are, I would say, top 10, top 5 running backs in the league when they're healthy, when they're playing, you know.
So guess who's on the clock right now?
Ryan Mackey.
That would be me. I love this player each and every year, but more and more this year, and I'll tell you why.
Michael Thomas.
It's not Michael Thomas. It's actually Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk.
So Brandon Ayuk, from weeks, I believe, 10 to 17, was a top 15 fantasy wide receiver.
Yeah.
Even coming out of college, I believe he played for Arizona State. Or, you know, one of those smaller schools. He had the highest break tackle. I forgot the word for it, but yeah, Brandon Ayuk is a guy that's just explosive. He breaks tackles. He's elusive in the open field, and I don't think that we've seen the full regimen yet. And I'm excited. I don't really know who's going to be starting quarterback week 1 for the 49ers, but I like Brandon Ayuk, especially in the second half of the year. So I should probably go tight end here.
It's getting close.
I love Dalton Schultz. I'll tell you why I love Dalton Schultz.
You got me on him, yeah.
So I love Dalton Schultz because I think that he's gonna, you know, I don't see anybody else starting for Houston other than Barrett. And rookie quarterbacks like to go to you know, those veteran tight ends. There's not a whole lot of weaponry, and there's not a whole lot. It's not a great offense. I know they got 2, you know, pretty solid running backs in what was his name? I'm trying to think of Dameon Pierce. Excuse me, Dameon Pierce, and they just signed Devin Singletary from Buffalo, so they have a pretty solid running back. I like what they're trying to do. They're trying to get physical at both points of attack, but I don't see really many offensive pieces, especially at the receiver position, that could interfere with what Dalton Schultz does. And the Houston Texans actually have the most the best schedule against tight ends next year.
I just got picked. So to talk about if you're thinking about getting a tight end or one of these players in the 9th round that's maybe 4 or 3 ahead, and you have a back-to-back shift, I think it's important to know, like, okay, Do you want to get somebody maybe that's more value? Because is anybody who's going to get tight end right now? Because I really want Cole Kmet or Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
I think I'll go Cole Kmet because he was young. I think I don't see any hope for Chicago except for Justin's legs, but if he does check down or if somebody does slip through, it's going to be Cole Kmet. I know they just got who's the receiver that they just had who was on the Panthers?
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore.
Yeah, so, he got traded. So when they moved up for Bryce Young, he was included in that trade, and that's such a win for Chicago because now they have a clear-cut number one guy, and I don't think we've even seen the best yet of DJ Moore. I mean, this is a guy that can average 1,000 to 1,100 yards without any quarterback play, and now you get Justin Fields, who's a lot better upgrade than anybody that they had on Carolina for the last couple of seasons.
Speaking of Carolina, I drafted 2 picks ago DJ Chark. I've been watching a lot of Carolina Carolina Panthers OTAs, and Thielen coming in and being like the veteran there and like leading them. I think DJ Chark, his ability, he could finally, I think, come out of that team as the number one receiver.
For sure. So I was just on the board. My back-to-back picks were Dalton Schultz, and I just picked Brian Robinson Jr. I think that he has the best chance to start in Washington. I think that Washington still wants to stay physical. I know they're not the best. They're not the best team overall, but he was the last starting running back remaining. I wanted to take Jamal Williams at that spot just because Alvin Kamara could be facing suspension, and I think that Jamal Williams, the guy scored 17 touchdowns last year. So I think if you're picking somebody like Jamal Williams in the 10th, 10th round, that's a steal, especially if Kamara misses anywhere from 4 to 6 games. He could be a weekly winner and somebody that helps boost you into the playoffs. But I went with Brian Robinson Jr. because I think that he starts week 1, and he was,
now that you say Jamal Williams, I should have got him too because I have Kamara.
Right. You probably want to look for that stack just in case he's looking for suspension.
Yeah, that's something. A lot of times too, like what we do, and I think go ahead, Ryan. I think you're up.
So I'm on the clock. I have about 10 seconds left. I like my tight end. I'm not freaking out about it too much, but I still want to load up on wide receivers. Just so I can have like an easier flex position. Listen, I've been all in on Kadarius Toney for a while.
I love Kadarius Toney.
I know that he hasn't really been able to show, his full skill set, but you saw what he did in the Super Bowl, and he hadn't even been in that offense for very long. Brian Dable said he didn't want Kadarius Toney on the team anymore, ships him to Kansas City, and Kadarius Toney plays a key role for Patrick Mahomes. This is a guy that you can get in the 10th round and has a clear-cut chance with Juju Smith-Schuster gone to New England. He could be the number 1 receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, and everybody is sleeping on him. He was a former first-round pick. I remember when he played for Florida, he would cut up field. He could play running back, wide receiver, do it all. And I think that Patrick Mahomes will love him. Remember, Travis Kelce, Hall of Fame tight end, probably the best to ever do it. But
I got
he's entering the season at 34 years old. I like Kadarius Toney.
I got Zay Flowers.
And you're back on the clock again.
Absolutely. There's 3 or 4 guys that rookie guys that could break out, especially on that team that you never know who's going to come out like top with Odell there. I'm not panicking. Yes. Okay, good. I almost panicked. I need a backup tight end just in case Cole Kmet doesn't work for me, and I think Zach Ertz is an easy pick because there's nobody really in Arizona. There's nothing in Arizona.
No, unless you want to push your chips into like Hollywood Brown, which I don't think that's ever a good idea.
No, I think Zach is just I think a good backup, and also if you do draft a tight end late, let's say like you couldn't get Goddard or like a top 7, top 10 tight end, I think Zach Ertz would be a good backup. If he stays healthy, he's always he's just good. He's talented. He just needs to stay healthy. That's his only problem.
So I have a little bit of a sneaky play right here. I know we're in the 11th round.
Not sneak. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Let's see. So I went with you were talking backup tight end, so it kind of like it struck a chord. I went with Greg Dulcich because he has Sean Payton as coach, and Sean Payton has had success with grooming tight ends in the league, and he's already said a lot about Greg Dulcich in the offseason. And I'm not saying that Greg Dulcich is going to be the next Jimmy Graham, but I like taking chances on players like that because you saw that in a very short in a short sample size, Russell Wilson was targeting Greg Dulcich, and he was an undrafted player. I like the fact that he's going to be, carrying basically the middle of that defense, looking for those short intermediate routes. You have in Denver, I could see the improvement there with Sean Payton, but I think that Russell will look Dulcich's way.
Yeah.
And I needed a backup tight end, so I like to go with the upside there. Now I'm pretty much looking for basically people to fill out my my depth chart. Oh, this is a hard one because now I have to. I want to go running back just to add the depth.
Sure. I know it's crazy, but I'm thinking about defense here.
It's not really that crazy. I went with Tyler Algier. Listen, I love Bijan Robinson. I know he's going to tear it up this year, but let's not forget that Tyler Algier ran for over 1,000 yards last year. He started to heat up late in the season, and if anything happens to Bijan, you got yourself the top 10.
Yeah,
and plus he helped me win my fantasy championship last year, Algier, when he came along late. And actually, you cut him, so that helped me win a title. So you're on the clock again.
There's a cutie pie named Damian Harris. I think he's a top 20 running back, and he plays for Buffalo. Obviously, I don't know if he's going to start or not, but I think as maybe a high upside going on to the season, he gets acclimated. Buffalo's really weird with running backs, and you never know who's going to come out of there.
They are. I'm on the clock after this guy because we have an auto pick at 151, and I'm at 152 in the 13th round.
Yeah. I think if we did like an underdog, there's no auto picks because everybody put like money in it, like $1 or whatever. I think that would be the to try.
And here we are on the clock again. I love getting Elijah Moore late. I think he's going to be an awesome slot option for Deshaun Watson. So right now, I kind of have to decide where I want to go. Wide receivers are really ugly. Like I'm done with Chase Claypool. Oh wow! And it auto picked for me.
What did it auto pick? Patriots defense?
Yeah, it auto picked Patriots defense, which is never really like a bad play because the Patriots always have a top 10 defense, and it'll allow me to address the depth late, if you will.
Sure.
There's still somebody I'm eyeing. No, I got to disable auto pick. Jesus, these things don't play around. They're like it's
like instant. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, so my guy is still on the board, even though I choked and I auto picked.
Yeah.
One of my favorite players in this draft, especially in the late rounds, is Deontay Foreman.
That's a good pick too.
I think he's getting disrespected in the worst way. I don't see Khalil Herbert starting for that team, and even if he does, Deontay Foreman is a guy that has ran for over 5 yards per carry in his career. Chicago has one of the more favorable schedules for running backs. I said that earlier in the show that you want to target players from the NFC North this year. And look at he has 6 games against Minnesota, the Lions, and Green Bay. You want to take a running back like that. You're on the clock.
Yeah, I take Ezekiel right here just in case. High upside. I know he has nothing left in the gas in the tank.
Yep,
but. You never know.
Another player that I love that he's ranked as the 307th best player in fantasy football. I'm all in on this guy this year. I love him, especially if you want to go quarterback very, very late. Jared Goff. He was one of the hottest quarterbacks towards the end of the season, especially during fantasy playoff week. And the Lions, at the end of the day, will have a top 10 offense. I mean, I got to give a lot of kudos to Dan Campbell, what he's really done with the Lions offense. They're explosive. Adding Gibbs. I know you have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams is going to be suspended for the first 6 games, which might hurt his value a little bit, but I still like the overall offense as a whole. And Goff coming on late, it's a beautiful thing.
It's a really good clean pick. You know what's interesting? Like, I know this isn't talk about, but like, if you this is so meta, but if you really want to get sneaky, you could pick a kicker in the second to last round.
Yeah.
And then in the last round, there will be random players available that you could just have at, like random quarterbacks. It's actually really good.
I'm going with my favorite name here, my guy Dicker the Kicker. I just like him.
Ooh,
like
Hunter Renfrow off the board. Yeah, forgot about him.
I like Dicker the Kicker.
I think Elliott is an easy Eagles pick. I think now we could kind of talk about our lineup, because it was kind of. What did you think? I don't think we each had time to talk about our picks as we were picking it, right?
Right, because the clock is literally at like 30 seconds, and we're both in like a panic mode.
Yeah, and everything's just going really fast. On top of that, it's ESPN, it's mock. There's nothing really on the line, but still, it was a good practice to see. What I like ESPN mocks for is like you get a feel for the rounds, you get a feel for like what's available, so you can be prepared. I think a couple picks are on like maybe the later rounds. There was certain players that I was like I could have gotten, but I didn't. Like even stacking like Alvin Kamara, like you said, with Jamal.
Right.
Stuff like little techniques that I think as we keep mocking, as with the community, with each other, we'll get cleaner and cleaner. I think that's the point of this,
Yeah, I think so too. I think it would be a good time to evaluate each other's lineup. I like the fact that you got Ezekiel Elliott really, really late, even though he's like a free agent. Like you have 2 free agents on your team right now.
Yes,
which is kind of wild, because at some point they're expected to sign, especially DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, when he steps in there, he should be a top 15 to 20 wide receiver. I know people are like, saying, oh, he's old, he's done, too many injuries back to back, but he's that dude. And especially if he signs with an explosive offense and gives himself a chance to win a Super Bowl, I just feel like that's going to be his next move. I would not be surprised at all if we hear very, very soon that Hopkins signs with like Kansas City or like a Buffalo, because they can definitely. You wouldn't really shy away from any offensive upgrade at that point, especially if for a team like Kansas City that'll be looking to win back-to-back Super Bowls.
Yeah, if you get Ezekiel Elliott in the 15th round, I remember last year, was it? Or you had Pollard? You drafted him like what, 15th, 13th, something like that?
Well, no, I drafted Pollard in like the 8th or 9th round.
Yeah. There was one guy you drafted, like I don't know if it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, where it was just like really late. Maybe it was me. And it turned out to be like my starting lineup, all year. I'll kind of go through, maybe if you want to go through my lineup, Ryan.
I'll go through it. So obviously, I can't see Jalen Hurts not being quarterback number 1 this year.
You and I both have him.
Yeah, I see him finishing as QB1, just like last year. Mm-hmm. Nothing different with the Eagles offense. I know that he relies on that QB sneak, which helps him a lot in fantasy. Yeah. My only concern is like because the Eagles do that in so often in short yardage situations, there's always the chance that he can get hurt. But you could basically say that with any player. Like Cam Newton had like a 13, 14-year career, and everybody was always saying, oh, Cam Newton's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. He never really got hurt. And Jalen Hurts, I think he's going to become an even better passer this year with the emergence of who you have sitting at your number 1 wide receiver, Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith is a number 1 wide receiver. I mean, yes. The guy is the Slim Reaper. He looks like he weighs 90 pounds. 90 pounds soaking wet on an NFL field. So I like what you have in the first 4 picks. Solid all of these guys can easily average 15 points or more. Jalen Hurts finishing at QB1, Christian McCaffrey as most likely RB1, either him or Austin Eckler this year if they both stay healthy. Yeah. Going to number 2, DeAndre Swift. Personally, I would have liked you to draft maybe a running back where you ended up taking somebody like Hopkins. I think that was more of like a risky pick considering we don't really know where he's going to end up.
They like have pretty good.
If he ends up in Tennessee, I don't know if that's the best value for being on a Titans team that runs the ball as much as they do.
Yeah, I think when I went with Swift there, they didn't have any. When I picked Hopkins, they didn't really have any good value at running backs that I saw, and then I knew later on Swift. It's weird where they have Swift ranked because it's very indecisive. It's as if like they don't know if he's going to be, he's not going to carry the load because they run by committee. But Miles Sanders had a great year last year. He was top, I think, consistently throughout most of the season. He was like a top 10, top 12 running back. He
was.
And he had opportunities where he could have got touchdowns. And like you said about Jalen Hurts, one of the drawbacks is that. And that's why I think if you're going to do something like DeAndre Swift, and this is why I did Alvin Kamara, is that, I could flex, I could switch in between them two, right? Like depending on what's happening and the story going on with Alvin and how they're using Swift.
Right. So you did make a little bit of an error, and it's cool because I think we could point this out. When you took DeAndre Hopkins, Kenneth Walker was on the board.
I don't like it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. They why would they draft, like, to me, like the Chardonnay, right? That's his name?
Yeah, Charbonnet.
Why would you draft Chardonnay in the second or third round? I think the third round. It didn't make any sense to me because it doesn't make any sense to me. Like maybe they don't trust that Kenneth will be. Maybe they're going to do more committee. And I love Kenneth Walker. I think he did great last year, but I think it's a different situation this year.
It's possible. I really like Seattle as a whole.
Yeah, low-key. They're very low-key.
Yeah, I do like them as a whole. I love the fact that Pete Carroll is saying to himself, we want a more balanced attack. I like the fact that they drafted Jackson and Jigba to help out with, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf.
That's a really good overall team.
Yeah. I expect Seattle to make a run. Remember, this is a team that got a lot of draft picks for Russell Wilson. They had pretty much the steal of the NFL, the steal of all the trades. I mean, they literally, like, Denver gave the bank to Russell Wilson and shipped a ton of picks and a ton of good players to Seattle. And I think they're just building. I think Pete Carroll did the right thing by trading Russell Wilson at the perfect opportune time. But now I think that offense is going to carry over. And I would have drafted Kenneth Walker there personally, just because I think that at the end of the day, he's a guy that is highly effective in the red zone. I know just because they draft a rookie running back in possibly the third or fourth round, or what I can't remember where he was drafted. Charbonnet. It was anywhere between the second and fourth round. Yeah, but Kenneth Walker could still give you 1,000 yards and possibly 10 touchdowns.
Sure.
At the end of the day, and I would have more. I could breathe a little bit easier knowing that he's my running back too, and then possibly get a Charbonnet later in the draft than getting DeAndre Swift, where you don't really know how the Eagles are going to run their running back by committee. So that's the only flaw I really see.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I like, maybe it's because we watched Kenneth run a lot, and every time he runs, I'm like, he's gonna blow his knee out.
Like, he runs really hard,
hard. It's crazy. Like,
he runs really hard, and at times he runs a little too high and loose. So it does look like he's going to get injured, but I mean,
I swear, I think he's down. He's a
tough dude. He's a tough dude. Yeah. This is a guy that had over 100 yards and a touchdown in that blowout against the 49ers. Like, he was the best positive thing, the most positive thing in that playoff game when they got obliterated.
Yeah.
But moving on to your lineup, I've always liked Cole Kmet. I said it before last year. That Kmet's a guy that you could stream late, possibly make a trade for. I'll always have love for him because he scored a touchdown for me in my fantasy championship week. And anytime you can get a tight end to score a touchdown when you're playing in the fantasy championships, like hold on to that and cherish those players, because there's not a lot of tight ends that score touchdowns.
I don't watch a lot of college, and what I usually do is I wait until the season starts, and if they make the team, blah 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 blah. With Cole Kmet, I remember like going into, because Ryan and I try to find value at tight end, usually a quarterback too as well. Value meaning like players that'll slip down and they're just like they're worth more than where they're going. And Cole Kmet is one of those guys that last year I was just really high on, but Justin just feels doesn't know how to like Cole Kmet's open a lot of times. He's one of those players that like if he's not double teamed, like he's probably going to get open if you give him like 3 or 4 seconds. And I hope this year they kind of they'll be able to do that.
I like what Chicago is doing. They're one of those underrated teams. I know they're going to have to patch up defense. They traded Roquan Smith to the Ravens, and he was they're probably their best defensive player. So they might have some loose ends on defense, but you got to respect what they're doing on offense. They were able to get a ton of picks when Carolina moved up to number 1 to get Bryce Young. Yeah. And I think in a couple years, Chicago's going to be scary, but you're starting to see what they're doing. Mooney is one of those speed threats. Runs great routes, can get open deep. Now you have a true number 1 wide receiver in DJ Moore. Cole Kmet, pretty much a good, solid, do it all around tight end. Good running backs in Deontay Foreman and Khalil Herbert. They're making some sneaky moves. I think Chicago can steal a couple wins from some good teams this year, especially in that cold weather. But yeah, I like Kmet. My favorite thing about your team, besides obviously your first 4 picks, is Calvin Ridley in the flex, and I tried to get that myself because I had Justin. I had a plan of going in with getting Ridley and Trevor Lawrence, but you obviously took that away from me. So I know you're pretty high on Ridley.
I am very high on Ridley. Yeah.
Go ahead. You got it.
Ryan and I did our top 10 rankings for receiver, and Ridley made it my 10. And top 10, there's studs, absolute studs that are usually gone by the second round, and nobody's really factoring Ridley, what he did 2 years ago and what he's capable of doing. And I know Christian Kirk is there, but Christian Kirk is not, in my opinion, not a number 1 receiver. Like he doesn't have the size, and I don't think he can carry that load. Christian Kirk's a great receiver if you use him the right way, and I think Doug Peterson will. But I strongly believe Calvin Ridley is going to come in and he's going to get the opportunity. That's why they traded for him. You have to believe that. Why would they go out and know that they would have a year not to use him and kind of nurture that? I think he gets back to top 10 in targets and you're high on Lawrence, so am I, and
for sure.
And Lawrence loves to throw the ball, and he loves his players. Like when he gets a completion, like you almost feel like he hugs them. He reminds me of Andrew Luck in that sense, where he's just like he's a player's guy. So it's like, I think if Calvin can just put in the work and camaraderie with Lawrence, then I don't see how. And the Jaguars are good; they're not bad. They have a really good offense. Really good offense.
Yeah. So moving on, I agree. I love Trevor Lawrence. I love the upside for the Jaguars offense. Moving forward, they should be top 10 in scoring, yards. I love what they got going on in Jacksonville. I wanted Doug Peterson as a coach before I wanted Mike McDaniel, as a Miami Dolphins fan. But I'm happy with who we have. I'm happy with how it turned out for both teams. Jaguars are on the rise. They won a playoff. Think about this. The Jaguars have more playoff wins than like teams like the Lions and the Dolphins and the Bengals over the years. It's just like, well, maybe not the Bengals because they won 2 and they went to a Super Bowl. But yeah, like the Browns, the Lions, the Dolphins, the Jaguars already have 2 more playoff wins than 3 teams that have been trying to make it. And now they're just getting better with Doug Peterson. They found their ace and Trevor Lawrence. And now you get to add Calvin freaking Ridley. Ridley, a guy that averaged like 1,400 yards with Matt Ryan at the end of his career. It's unbelievable.
Cool. I know we have 10 minutes before the hour. I don't know if you want to go. Maybe we could go into your team.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go in order of like your. I don't know if you could see your team on my screen right here. Let's see if I can zoom in. Does this zoom in or no? I can't tell.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. Ooh, that's good. Okay. It's really close up.
Yeah, I have my team up. I could screen share.
You could screen share?
Well, I can't screen share, but I could see my team while I'm talking to you.
Okay, yeah.
I minimized it so I can see it.
Okay. So just for if anybody watches this in the future, so you went. I'll just go in order in terms of your positional ranking. Well, actually, no. I could go by your pick. Hold on 1 second. Let me just do that by. No, I can't. I don't know how to do it by order. But you drafted Trevor Lawrence, which I think we just talked a lot about. There's nothing wrong with that. I think if you don't get one of the top 3 or 4 of the usual suspects, Patty Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, like if you don't get those guys, Trevor Lawrence is like the next, like right on the cusp of that, I think.
Yeah, tier 2, tier 3.
I do like. I know it's not like cute or it looks good on paper in a sense, but Stevenson is a really good, like solid running back to have.
High floor,
especially with Damian Harris on, and especially if your 2 starting wide receivers are Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown, right? Like, so that's what I love about your team the most is that you have this solid core at receiver, especially in the PPR league. That's everything. You want to have that where you don't worry. You don't have to worry about anything else. You'll never have to do anything else. That's my favorite part about it.
No, I just want running backs that could score at least 10 points or more. Mm-hmm. I don't see how forgetting the full workload, like you said, with no Damian Harris, Stevenson should be able to average at least 10 points or more in receptions alone.
Yeah,
he caught over 50 passes last year for New England. I expect him to use him as a receiver more. They're going to open up things. They just got Mike Gesicki. They made a couple upgrades, at the offensive end, and I know they were making a strong push to reunite DeAndre Hopkins with Bill O'Brien in New England. So it's possible if he signs there. I like Stevenson even more because it opens up the offense. It gives you a true number 1, and it gives you a high floor. Same thing with Madison. Like I said, I can't stand Kirk Cousins.
It's not my favorite pick. So Madison, I get why you did it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then you also have Cook, so you could go in and out with that if you wanted an RB2 instead of flexing Cook. You could do Cook starting, depending on where he lands.
Right.
I think it reminds me of my pick with Alvin and. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Alvin and the other running back for the Eagles. Oh my God, how could
Swift?
DeAndre Swift. It reminds me of that. Like you could, if just in case, like switch those 2 out and flex like Ayuk. That's why I like your Ayuk pick the most, or even Tony, like Kadarius Toney, who I believe I love his route running skills, and he's just so like elusive.
Love him. And I know a lot of these fantasy experts, they say, oh, I wouldn't draft Kadarius Toney. I think he's being drafted too high. Really? You think a guy that was a former first-round pick and is on the explosive Kansas City offense is a bad pick to take in the 10th or 11th round? Yeah. There's just no way. There's too much upside there. Again, Travis Kelce is going to be 34 heading into the regular season. They're going to have to find some targets around that offense. Like, you don't know if it could be Tony, but I like to go with his upside and just his overall skill set. I think Patrick Mahomes will look his way early and often, and I think he's a good guy to take a chance on, especially in the 9th or 10th round.
Yeah, And that's why I think it's not bad. Like I think with Madison, what the upside with him is that he's a starting running back for a decent team, right? They're not going to be bad. Justin Jefferson's on that team. They're always going to be fighting. And I think you talked about Dalton Schultz. I don't know if you want to clarify a little bit about why like you're so high on him, why you sold me on him. He was going to be one of my picks, but you took him coming back down. So please tell the world. This is like I think the greatest secret ever.
So the Texans, obviously, you know, they drafted C.J. Stroud at quarterback with the number 3 pick. Rookie tight ends, they you know, considering the fact that Houston doesn't really have a number 1 threat, you know, at wide receiver, Brandon Cooks just got traded to the Cowboys. DeAndre Hopkins is nowhere. He left a long time ago. They never really got a true number 1 wide receiver. They don't have a true number 1 wide receiver on the team. So what do rookie quarterbacks do? They look for those key tight end guys. Dalton Schultz turned down a 2-year deal for $12 million from the Dallas Cowboys to sign with the Houston Texans on a 1-year, $9 million deal. So he took more money to play for a team that probably won't make the playoffs this year. DeMeco Ryans, I know what DeMeco Ryans is trying to do. I love that signing from Houston. He was a former Texan, so it's really nice to see him being able to coach his old team that he played for. Perfect reunion, but you know that he's going to want to run the football. You know that he's going to try to, you know, look for those short intermediate routes because they don't have a deep threat. And the most beautiful thing about Dalton Schultz, not only is he that veteran presence for a guy like C.J. Stroud, but the Texans have the number 1 schedule for tight ends against fantasy defenses next year or this year. And what more? You can't find a better stat than that. Honestly, number one schedule for tight ends is the Houston Texans. And who's the top tight end on that team? Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, I think it's an easy storyline back, like, you know, just to getting to know, like, he's not just a player you draft. He's just not the 12th ranked, 11th ranked tight end. There's more depth to like why he's there. And I'm excited for DeMeco Ryans. I drafted Robert Woods late, I think 14th. And I know I don't know what he's gonna do in his new life, and especially after all the injuries. And
do you want a mulligan?
Yeah. I do, but to me,
that 30-second clock was, or whatever. It felt like it was like 10 seconds.
well, not only that, like I'm looking at the other, like, you know, other picks and whatnot, and then like talking to you and doing this is like another level.
Yeah.
Also, the auto picks are just it forces you to like not have enough time to do a pick.
Right. We got to, the next time we do this, we're gonna fill up that draft lobby with real people. So please, anytime, you know, we'll let you guys know anytime we're launching one of these mock drafts. We could just like
underdog. We should try underdog.
We should try underdog.
Those guys aren't leaving because they pay $1 or $3. You know, they're going to draft it. And it'll be exciting because a lot of people like doing that too as well. But I just want to finish up with your picks here.
Sure.
Like minutes. I like Dulcich, however you want to pronounce his name. Dulcich. It's solid. I like the idea of what Peyton brings to that, being the coach now, and that offense is going to look different. I think he's always highlighted the tight end in all of his offenses, besides running back. And I love Tyler Algier because you never know what's going to happen with Bijan and like how that situation is going to go.
You never know.
And you could probably trade for Algier too. You could, if somebody has Bijan, they would want Algier, you know.
And who ran more than Atlanta last year?
Nobody. And then Foreman. I think Foreman is one of those guys that caught fire last year, and it was just so weird. And he had the opportunity, and he shined. So I think that was a really good pick too. And now he's playing for the Bears.
You can get a possible starting running back in the last round.
Yeah.
Is anybody all in on Khalil Herbert? I don't think so.
No, not as a starting running
and in
back.
the cold weather, you want that big snuggly body to help carry the way. Like Deontay Foreman he's that bruiser that you need, especially when the weather gets cold. You're looking to, those November, December months. Like, you want a grinder like Deontay Foreman. And I just think that he gives you such upside. Like, I really like the value of where he's going in drafts, and somebody that everybody should be targeting, towards that back half.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on our first ever mock draft. PPR 12-man team. Before we head out, just want to let everybody know we'll be doing this. I don't know if we'll knock out one tomorrow, Ryan, but definitely we'll be doing it every Sunday.
I'm down to do one tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. This was actually really fun. And now we're set up. We're set up and we can kind of do it. I think it'll be more interesting if we did do obviously an underdog for all the reasons I said, but because it'll give us more time to because people take their time and they want to make sure they do right. And if we did those leagues where you don't have to worry about starting lineups and whatnot, they do it for you. You just have to. The one thing with underdog is they do 3 receivers.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. So it might be a different shift into but still PPR.
So I'll make sure to draft Robert Woods.
There's nothing. I can't say anything about that. That was just a.
It was a panic pick because you're trying to talk and you see the auto clock on literally 10 seconds.
I don't want the Patriots defense.
I mean, honestly, when we were mocking, I had an auto pick and I didn't even select it. It gave me the Patriots defense.
I know.
I wasn't even ready to take a defense.
Yeah, I know. It was the 12th round.
But whatever.
Yeah. Oh, also I took Jared Goff was a good pick too, by the way. I like that.
Thank you.
16. Right? Yeah, that was your last pick. No, it wasn't your last pick. Second to last.
Pick. Second to last pick.
Second to last pick. Cool. So Ryan, I'm gonna end the stream. Please leave a comment below too if you like this format, or if you want to see if we could do underdog, or if you're interested in doing the mock drafts on ESPN with us. Any one of those, we would love to draft with y'all, and then even have the chat going on where you share your insights or you leave your comments. Maybe you didn't like what we picked. Please tell us what we didn't like what you didn't like and why it was bad. Was Robert Woods bad, or was the auto pick actually that bad for the Patriots, which is never really a bad pick because you do need a defense. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ryan. Ending.